What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to discuss if Jack Sparrow returns. If Johnny Depp returns as Jack Sparrow, will Davy Jones return with him? Now, we're no strangers to the discussion of Davy Jones. I really don't feel like there's anybody, any channel on YouTube that's talked about him the way we have or have had the audience that we've had when talking about Davy Jones. So we've had this discussion before for sure, right? Like, will he return? How would he return? Stuff like that. But in the context of what's going on behind the scenes with Johnny Depp, you know, what's going on there, a question should be raised, right? Because especially with that rumor that we talked about however many days ago it was at the point that you guys are seeing this video, and again, you have to take that with a grain of salt. There is no confirmation. There's nothing. We just have to all really cross our fingers and hope that all of us being very loud that we want him back will end up making him, and the fact that he hopefully will be like exonerated of everything will bring him back. That's really all we can hope. And if that does happen, and if that rumor, say the rumor's true, right, and they would still have the redhead, it would still be like a Karen Gillan kind of type, but Johnny Depp would be back as Jack, and they'd be together. The question would be, and we even talked about it in that video a few days ago, was what would they do with the story? Would it be that continue? Because I think it would have to, that's where I stand on this. I think it would have to be a continuation of Pirates 5, because if you bring Jack Sparrow back, it's in the timeline, and so unless it's like a prequel or like an in-between movie, which could happen, although because of his age and stuff, I feel like it would just be easiest to make it, you know, in chronological order and just put it at 6, put it after 5. Who would return with him, right? It would be Jack Sparrow. It would be this new girl, the redhead, all that kind of stuff. But who comes with him? Who's the villain is a big question, right? A villain is a thing you really have to nail down in your movie, I'd say very, very early, because a villain can definitely sink or float your movie at like 1,000%. Really, any entity, TV show, video games, anything, you need a really good villain. And they have one. Davy Jones is about as literally good as you can get. I mean, we're no strangers to talking about him. We've propped him up quite a bit, gone on record saying, you know, he's one of, if not our favorite movie villains ever. And I think he deserves that. And, you know, we could give explanations of it. We've already done it in the past, but obviously teased at the end of 5. And so I just feel it would be like a disservice to that character and to where you were going. I get it. If you would obviously have different directors and you're going to have different writers for this movie, and if Jack is back, and if it's a Pirate 6, yeah, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, it's fine. Like, they're respecting the fact that he's back, and they're respecting, like, okay, we're going to make this one final movie, but we're going to put it in the correct timeline and stuff. But do they respect what 5 was going for, like where 5 was going, especially the very, very end? I don't know. I don't know if they would kind of just, because movies, I feel like, have done that. I just feel like something as blockbuster, like as big. I mean, Pirates 5 didn't make the most money in the world, but it still made an outrageous amount of money. And so, and obviously it's got a massive, massive fandom. And it's like a lot of people know what happened at the end of 5 with the whole Davy Jones teaser. So if you introduce a Pirates 6, and yes, it's got a new female character that you'll eventually just let her be, you know, the sole focus. But for now, we're going to bring back Jack. Do you like respect the ending of 5 and bring back Davy Jones, or do you pretend like that specific part? Because that's the tough part, right? Is if you bring back Jack, and it's after 5, you are like implying indirectly that you recognized what happened in 5 happened. You'd have to make and another thing is, if you're not including Henry, that's another, I think, video discussion right there. If you're not including Henry and Karina, you need to give explanation for why they aren't there either. Right? And so if you're going to do that, do you then explain away or just flat out ignore the will thing with Davy Jones? Like, is that happening? But like Jack just flat out doesn't care anymore because there's this new girl in his life. And like, how does that, you know what I mean? Like, how it's very tough. It's very, very tough. And I honestly wouldn't be able to tell you, like, there's no good way for them doing it without respecting and using the things in 5. In fact, like, I've been even thinking about that, and I've been saying that in past videos, right, where it definitely seems like they're kicking Henry and Karina to the curb, but then now talking about it right now, it's like, well, can you actually do that? Because that provide some really, and you can. Now let me make this straight. You can if Jack's not back. If none of this, if Johnny Depp, all this kind of stuff happens and he doesn't return and they do the reboot and they do Karen Gillan or whoever, Daisy Ridley, whatever, that's fine. And obviously they can just do whatever they want. But if you bring Jack back, you immediately throw it into the Pirates timeline. And again, unless you do one where it's like in between 4 and 5 or in between 3 and 4, but that would be very strange. And then you would have to start talking about like Barbossa, like how does he fit into it? But he's gone and he has no, there's no way I feel like he's coming back. He's even said, Jeffrey Rush has even said like, hey, he's done with the character. So it's like, I feel like you'd have to do it after 5. So there's no questions with him. But then if it's after 5, well, where's Henry? Where's Karina? And that's just the base. That's just because they were central characters in 5. Then where's Will? Where's Elizabeth? And then if Will's not there, well, what's going on with Davy? Like, are we just supposed to assume that Will is literally being haunted every single night by Davy Jones? And like, that's clearly a problem. We're not going to worry about it because we have something else to do. It just provides a lot of story problems, a lot of questions. And look, ultimately, does the majority viewers that are going to this movie, do they care? No. But these passionate fans, the ones that have stood up for this movie for the longest time, so that have stood behind this movie and propped it up and created this hype and created this fan. I'm not saying like we've created like a Pirates. I mean, well, here's the deal. We did at the time, and I still think we have right now, a Pirates community. We've created a Pirates community on the internet that I feel like wasn't there before us. So I will give, I mean, I don't want to sound like I have a huge ego, but I will give ourselves that. And if there is another Pirates movie, I'd assume we would get a lot of them back, and we would represent a voice of Pirates fans. The problem is it everybody? No. Is it even a majority of people seeing this movie? No. So we ultimately go back to the thing where it's like, well, do they care what the hardcore fans think at all? No, I think they are mindful of certain things, but I don't think they truly care ultimately. But I guess, again, like looking at it from a positive side is when looking at that movie, it's like you would have to explain away, if you bring back Jack, but nobody else, you'd have to explain away a lot of things. And even casual people, they would say, hey, didn't they introduce, like, I remember Will being in 5. Or like, hey, didn't they have those 2 new young actor and actress in 5? Like, where'd they go? Like, that would still be a thing that I think a lot of people would think about. And then Davy Jones, like, hey, a lot of people saw, I mean, everybody who saw the movie saw, maybe not everybody, some people do leave early, but then, on YouTube, it obviously gets spread around and stuff. I feel like a lot of people know Davy Jones has, like, returned, right? And that's, like, an exciting talking point. There were tons of articles being written about it. There was a lot of just hype online talked about it, about where that could potentially go for Pirates 6. So, I mean, it's not like it's news that you can just kind of say never happened, right? It's something that's out there, and then if he's not in it, then it's like, well, like, okay, but Davy Jones is back. It's just you just are choosing not to do anything. And then they're going to run into a problem where if they have their own villain, right, they create their own person, well, then you can look at them and say, well, you're not exactly as good as Davy Jones would have been. And then you have that comparison. And do you really want... Oh, and the same thing with supporting cast, right? You have 2 supporting cast members. Maybe you throw... Because you got to have a supporting cast, right? You throw some supporting cast there, and maybe they're just not all that good. And you say, well, maybe people didn't absolutely love Henry. We, on this channel, absolutely loved Karina. And we liked Henry quite a bit. I think Karina was definitely the standout, probably the best character in that entire movie. But you're going to have people say, like, well, maybe they weren't the great. Some people would say, hey, they weren't the greatest, but at least they were established and you could do more with them. And then there's like us, like people like us, were like, hey, these characters were awesome. Like, why don't you add to them and make them even better? Stuff like that. So I think they would have a lot of problems in that regard. And it's like, do you really want those headaches going into this movie when, again, like it's tough. And you could argue, like, is it fan service? Would you say it would be more fan service if they did those kind of things to, like, listen to us? And you know what? That's how you win people back from a movie franchise that's definitely gone probably in the wrong direction. We think they rebounded with 5. A lot of people actually thought that they just kept going, getting worse. That's totally cool. That's what makes us special, right? We can all have our own opinions, and it's fine to think that. We're all in it for the bigger picture of a good Pirates movie, and I think personally, when it comes to like Davy Jones, I think he is like literally the perfect example of like what makes a good Pirates movie, right? I think he was the best part in a lot of ways in 2 and 3, and I think if you don't bring him back, it's a huge mistake. So I think ultimately, I mean, my choice would be you bring him back, he's the central villain, you end it with a bang, you go all in, right? Even if you do a reboot, but it takes place after 5, you should consider him. You really should. I really honestly feel like as long as Bill Nighy is still around and he's 70 years old, he doesn't have that much longer. I don't want like an 85-year-old Davy Jones in my movie. So while he's still able, I feel like you should have some consideration to his character. But just my opinion. Guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Do you think that if Jack returns, Davy Jones returns, or do you think they should keep Jack but maybe eliminate some of the other pieces? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to this YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when these videos go up. And we have videos go up on this channel every single day. We talk about Pirates quite often as well. So if you guys enjoy Pirates content, you've come to the right place. We'll be ramping it up. We'll be talking about any new things Pirates related as they become available throughout this year, which I definitely predict they will. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.